Test, audio test. Is that working? I don't know. I guess we can check later. Okay, if anyone comes to watch this, we are painting Anne Boleyn on the morning of May 19th, 1536, as she goes to the scaffold, which you can see up above in the, what was the word, foreground of the painting, and she's looking back towards us, the viewers. So I only have to finish a few things in this painting. It's basically finished, but not quite. So I need to finish like a few more details in the foreground around the scaffold, although I want to keep it out of focus because I don't want it to be the focal point of the painting. She is the focal point. And then I'm going to also work a little bit more on the faces of the people in the crowd because, as you can see now, they're not really finished. So, okay, if anyone comes in to watch this, please let me know how it looks, how it sounds, if it isn't horrible, because this is my first time streaming. So, yeah, it's mostly for testing's sake, because it's my first time ever going live on YouTube. So, if anyone comes in, let me know how it sounds and looks, and if it's crappy, so that I know what to do for next time. And thanks very much. Now, if no one else comes in for the live, what I will be doing is just painting quietly by myself, and then look at the result after I finish the live video, the live stream. Let me see if I can try and switch devices or something to test out mics. Where can I switch devices? Can I switch devices during the live? I don't know what's happening. And how do I know if my mic is working besides the little green dots at the bottom? Manage. No. Send feedback. Channel level settings. Yeah. I don't know how. I was wondering if I can switch between mics because I'm using the one on my laptop currently, and I would like to try and use the one that I have embedded in my camera. But I don't know how to do it now, but let's not bother about it since there's nobody else in the live anyway. I'll see if it works afterwards when I watch the video. Okay, so what do we want to deal with first? for the finishing touches of this painting. I want to work a little bit more on the faces of the crowd. So let's start with those. I'm getting the flesh color paint, and these are oils, by the way, which are wonderful to paint with because they're slow, they dry up slow, they're very, I don't know how to say it, mixable, blendable in terms of color, but then they're horrible, and I mean horrible, in the drying department. They're like terribly, horribly slow to dry up, and it's just killing me every time I finish a painting because I can't publish it immediately. I can't move it immediately. You just have to wait for like at least if you want to be completely certain that it's mobile, you need to wait for it to dry for like at least maybe I don't know 3 weeks, a month, and that is if the painting is smaller like this one. This is just 30 by 40 centimeters, so it's a really small canvas. And if it's a bigger one with lots more and more paint covering the surface, the bigger it is, the longer you need to wait for it to get dry before you can do anything with it. And if you have limited space in your apartment, which I do, it kind of makes your life a living hell. But anyway, let me stop my rants and get on with the actual painting. Get a sip of water. I need some black too. Okay, just a little bit. Here's my horrible, messy palette, if you want to see it. I gotta get a new one again because it's like so difficult to like tap your brush into this mess. Okay, I want white as well. Okay. Let's just start and see what happens. I'm always hesitant to start every time I haven't worked on painting for a long time. But the trick is to just get it going no matter how it starts off. To start, just get your brush in your hand, just dab the paint and see what happens. Just do not let it freeze your brain and keep you in a no action state because I have this is a huge problem that I generally have in life, not just with painting. Like I freeze whenever I am faced with choices and I'm not sure how to figure things out. I always my brain freezes into inaction, which is the worst thing that can happen. So I'm trying to work on that. Okay, this guy that I'm doing right here, see how the hat is not really Tudor style. You know what I mean? It looks like a Charlie Chaplin hat for some reason. Hmm. Yeah, so let's try to reform it. It's a bit too round, and Tudor hats were not, at least to my knowledge, this round. So let's get a different brush and try to fix the shape by playing with the background. Okay, let's reduce the roundness like this. Make it a bit more flat at the top, while at the same time blending the new background with the old so it doesn't stick out that much. It needs to be gray. There we go. Okay. I wonder, like, what I should do with the spatial background behind the scaffold, because it's just gray at the moment, and I don't want it to be just gray. Um, Generally, the vantage point that we have right now is at the corner of the tower, right after um, Cold Harbor Gate, and she's walking toward the scaffold here in the at the front. So then the tower should be, if she's next to the corner, the tower should be like rising up at this side with the scaffold in front of it. So basically, it means that this volume over here should be not sky, but also not completely gray. So let's say the tower will stick up maybe up to this point. So the rest of this volume we will make lighter and whiter to signify that there are indeed separate buildings over there. There was a building to this side, which is the tower, and then there is a building to that side, which is the nowadays modern day jewel house. At the time, it was a different building, but there was a building in the same position. So we have two buildings on each side with the empty space between them. Although I guess it wasn't exactly empty space because you should have a wall of the tower in the deeper background, but I'm not sure how visible it would be in this case. Let's just make it so that the scaffold is not sitting into a complete gray environment. I don't want it to be this flat. And of course, we can fictionalize the buildings. I mean, who cares if it's not completely historically accurate? My point is to not leave completely empty space on the canvas. Okay, let's say a building here, and the scaffold should have a little bit more volume, not just like these black looking sticks. At the end of the day, I mean, when somebody looks at this painting, they're not going to care about buildings in the background unless you were like I don't know, I guess a historian who wants to like wants to crap on me because of the lack of some accuracy and whatever. But generally, people who look at this will be looking at it for Anne Boleyn and not for the buildings. So even if it's not completely accurate, because I'm also not a historian, so I can't make it completely accurate, who cares ultimately? The point is the human drama and not the exactness of the location. Mm, that might be a little bit too too white now. Maybe I need to reduce the light. Okay, let's leave a lower shape of a building here to make it a little bit more variable, various. I guess. What was the word? I'm forgetting English for fuck's sake. See, I feel like this level of whiteness up here kind of steals the focus from the focal point of Anne, of her face. So I guess it should be like the buildings maybe should be darker, and so should the sky behind them. Let's see how that goes. And I guess the blackness of the scaffold is a bit too pronounced, so maybe I should make it more dull. I need to glaze over it with like gray and stuff. Okay, that's better. See how the sky not being as white doesn't steal from the focus of her face. You should have a center of the painting, a focal point which guides the viewer at what to look at. And all the rest of it is just, an addition, a bonus, but not essential. And if it steals from the focal point, then it means that you need to make it duller and reduce its role in the image to keep the balance of the entire painting. Okay, let's glaze over the scaffold because I also feel like the outlines are not very correct. They seem kind of like bobbing upwards for some reason. I don't know why. So let's glaze it slightly and then redo the shape of the scaffold. Like this. See how I actually like this much better. It's like the scaffold is out of focus, and you're seeing the whole thing through a camera, through a phone camera or something, where the focus is on her face, and all the rest of it is kind of blurred. This is a really cool effect, I think. I'm gonna need to paint like a few figures up on the scaffold, waiting for her, like a priest or something. Although I don't think she had a priest at a scaffold. I think it was just officials and the executioner. But at this distance, you're not going to see what kind of position the person on the scaffold holds. It'll be just like a some kind of a human silhouette. Because it's kind of weird that the scaffold is just empty. I don't know. These are the rails and the steps on the way to the scaffold. And see here, this black figure is one of her ladies walking in front of her, like these two, but in the forefront. And because she's walking forward, her back is toward us, which I'm not sure how recognizable this is as a walking woman. So I'm not sure how to make her stick out more and be a little bit more visible as a female shape. And I'm not sure if I should do that at all. Like maybe leave her like that. I don't know. Let's make her the folds of her veil a little bit more pronounced. Like, should, oh, that's too pronounced. Like this. Because she's walking forwards, but she's turning backwards to look at us, and her head turning makes the veil kind of like twist and flip, and it gives it all of these little folds in the fabric, and I want to make it look like it's twisting. See, kind of like this, and the veil, let's say, is attached to the hood, but not all the way to the top. Maybe somewhere like over here. Okay. And I'm not saying that the veil um, would be attached like this in real life, but then I like to play with like elements like these to make it not follow the exact historical resources, because history is not always what has been documented officially, because these documents and these sources are not the full picture, but what survives of it. So in terms of like makeup and clothing and buildings and whatever, what you have in the sources should not be the strict limited picture of what you're trying to depict, because history is not a monolith. It always has deviations, and some of those do not survive in sources. So you want to give yourself a little bit of freedom and play around with stuff like this, like details in clothing and whatever. And I love to do it. It's one of my favorite things to like not only follow history to the best I can, but also play around with it for a bit. Make it kind of breathe. I don't know. So let's see how we can play around with the veil. Let's see how we can make it form around the hood. See? Let's say she has pinned it up until this point. Here. And so it hangs from there. And you can see this, by the way, in all kinds of artistic depictions of historical moments like this. Anne Boleyn, for example, and the Tudors as a whole. If you look at various paintings of these scenes from across the centuries since then, or modern films and shows, all of them make these, I don't know, they test the soil, they try to play around with the clothing and stuff. They're never like completely historically accurate as per surviving sources. And this is because not only are they playing around with it for just, fun, the beauty of art, but also, I guess they're reaching these conclusions for the deviations that they make uh, on a practical basis. Because in many, many paintings uh, from the Tudor period that depict this fashion, they are either idealized or inaccurate themselves because the artist may not have had a very, very experienced knowledge on the fashion themselves. So he wasn't sure what he was painting, he was just looking at it. But you just having a view of it does not give you the full picture. And if you're not sure how it was actually built, for example, this kind of hat, what materials they used, how they built the structure, how it held up on the head, if you don't know the mechanics of it, even if you're looking at it at the moment of painting, you can still make it look wrong because of like perspective, because of heaviness, and all kinds of things. So us playing around with this is nothing to be afraid about. There we go. And then little folds at the top. But maybe not make it this like shiny because again it will take away from the focal point of the face. Okay, you know what? I think it's time to officially declare this painting finished. And it's not perfect. I don't like everything about it. I could do a million more touch ups till it's completely perfect, if ever. But at that rate, I found that I barely finish painting. So there we go. Let's try and see how perfectionism works out in my life. So this one is ready. I'll be making a short out of it and then combine all the previous shorts to make up the entire video process of the complete painting. And congrats on my first live. Bye. Oh no, wait. That one looks really, really crappy for no reason. so, so let's touch this one up a bit, just a bit, to make it like not look as bad. Okay. Okay, that is a lot better. There we go. See what I'm saying? A million more touch ups that I can do, which will delay me every single time. with like a year before I finished the painting. Okay, that's it. No more touch-ups. Just one last one. And we are done, hopefully. Oh god, I keep hating on this one. Just make it blurry, make it nice and blurry so that it blends with the background. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think it's done. And if it isn't, Godspeed. I'll still publish it. Okay, happy first live to me. Bye.